Hello, I'm Mike McKinley with Elder Care Law of Kentucky. I want to talk about it's one of my biggest pet peeves, bugaboos, things that in general makes me angry, and that is financial planners or financial advisors giving legal advice. Where I run into this is I'll have a client who'll come in and we'll create a plan and they'll see the benefit in doing asset protection planning. Maybe they own their house and they've got a couple $100,000 of savings or CDs or investments that they want to protect in case they ever go to a nursing home, um, or they want to protect it for their children when they pass away. And next thing you know, I'll get a call back a few days later and says, I spoke with my financial planner and he told me I didn't need a trust or he said that irrevocable trusts were no good, as if there's an irrevocable trust that apply, it's like saying you don't need a hammer. There's a million different types of hammers. You got to know what you're talking about. And these guys really don't, unfortunately. Now, my first reaction is I want to tell them, it sounds like you need a new financial advisor. I don't do that. They might be a great financial advisor. They may be really good at getting you a good return on investment with all your investment accounts or whatever. I don't know. I don't give financial advice, but I would really appreciate if financial planners would not give legal advice. It would certainly give me a lot less high blood pressure incidents. So, why do financial advisors suggest that people don't need trust? Well, it's a good question. Number one, I don't know exactly why. The best I can think of is just pure ignorance. Um, I've never had a financial planner who has listened to one of my presentations or who has taken the time to go through my recommendations for a client and had me explain to them exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. I've never, not once, had a financial planner disagree or not think that my planning recommendations were a good idea once they understood them. So I have to assume that these people don't have bad motives. They just don't know what they're talking about, pure and simple. Um, a long time ago, irrevocable trusts were popular to try and protect assets from the estate tax. Okay. I can remember back in the 90s when the estate tax exemption was, it was as low as $500,000 back then. So if you died and you owned a farm that was worth $1 million, half of it was protected from the estate tax. The other half you were paying 40+% um, inheritance tax to the government, not to mention the state uh, inheritance tax. So attorneys and people who sold life insurance, they used to sell a lot of life insurance to help pay those estate taxes. Well, the exemption as of today, we're January 14th of 2026. I think it's at or above $14 million per person. So a married couple can leave over $24 million or up to $24 million tax free to their children. Um, that doesn't affect that many people. So if I'm a financial planner and that's where my mind is, all I'm thinking about is inheritance taxes. Yeah, you don't, you've got less than $1 million. Why would you need a trust designed to protect your estate from inheritance taxes? You wouldn't, and they would be right if that is what we were doing in the first place, which is not. Very few of my clients have to worry about inheritance taxes. So almost none of my planning is revolved around that. Now, I do have a few that are close enough that I worry about it because they can always change the law and reduce that number. Um, or their businesses could do really well and become worth enough that it would be an issue. So we do different planning for those folks, but the vast majority of my planning has nothing whatsoever to do with inheritance taxes. The trust that I create, we call them an irrevocable trust, but they're only irrevocable as it pertains to the nursing home and to Medicaid. As far as the IRS is concerned, the trust is just doesn't exist. You can keep the same, you can use your social security number as the trust EIN number. You keep your homestead exemption if you put your house in it. Banks are not allowed to call your mortgages if you put your house in, you have a mortgage on your house. Your children will still receive a step up in tax basis when you die, just based on the way we design these trusts. We design these trusts so that they have nothing whatsoever to do with the IRS or with inheritance taxes. As far as the IRS is concerned, you still own all of those, all of that property, which is what you would want. Because if you do earn any taxable income through the trust, it's taxed to you individually. It's not taxed to the trust at trust tax rates, which are typically higher. So there's no downside to the trust that we create other than the expense that it takes to set them up in the first place. Um, Particularly if you've got trustworthy children who can act as your trustee, et cetera. But I would really be leery um, of asking a financial planner advice on estate planning. That's not what they do. They don't, and if they, not to sound arrogant, but if an estate planner's advice differs from mine, it's probably because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because I didn't give you any financial advice, so it can't be about that. I would never. I mean, I might as well tell you what horse to bet on at Keeneland. Um, Whatever horse I bet on is probably going to fall down coming out of the gate. I do not do investment planning or investment advice in any way, shape, or form. Um, Even taxes, I'm going to give you the caveat. I'm not an accountant, and we need to, to get specific advice, we need to speak with an accountant. But I do know what limited part that I'm working on. I know what I'm talking about. What I'm doing is never going to hurt my clients, and it's always going to benefit them one way or the other. Even if the only benefit they get from it is avoiding probate, that's still a pretty good benefit. Okay. So the analogy I like to give is if I go to the doctor and he tells me I need heart surgery, I may go to another heart specialist to confirm that. Okay. And anybody that gets advice from me, if you want me to give you the name of three or four other elder law attorneys who actually do know what they're talking about, I'm happy to do that. People that I trust that I know knows what they're talking about. I'm not the only guy in the state who knows what they're talking about. I would never say that. But it needs to be another elder law attorney who is familiar with what we're doing and the products that we create. It's not going to be a financial planner that I send you to for advice on whether or not my advice is any good. So back to the medical example, it, I might go to another heart specialist to see if I need heart surgery, but I'm certainly not going to go to my dentist and ask my dentist, "Hey, dentist, do you think I need heart surgery? Oh, you think it's a bad idea, do you?" Well, I'll just call my heart specialist back and tell him I've decided I'm not going to move forward with his recommendations because my dentist told me I didn't need it. That is the equivalent, at least in my mind, and I may be over exaggerating a little bit, but it really does get the blood pressure going. Gets me a little angry just even talking about it. But when these financial advisors try to give legal advice to my clients, they truly are hurting my clients because they're talking them out of doing something that might be in their best interest. It certainly would be in my opinion, or I wouldn't have recommended it for them in the first place. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, not about financial planning, don't call me for that, but I can give you a good financial planner if you need one. I've got several referrals I can make. In fact, the best ones all refer clients back to me, and they would never dream of giving legal advice, which is one of the indicators that they really do know what they're doing. So if you need anything, give us a call, reach out, find me on the internet. It's eclky.com. That's Echo Charlie Lima Kilo Yankee.com. Thank you and have a great day.